Don the Doll delivers.
Welcome, world, to episode 2 of Concrete and Blossom Podcast, where we create change through conversation. We're in the series Black Business, and this episode, we're planting the seed Bros with Bank. The studio is lit right now because we have a longtime friend and frat brother of mine, a Dallas native, but here by way of my hometown, Houston, Texas, Mr. Travis Smith. Thanks for hosting with us. How are you?
Doing great. Of course, all the stuff that's going on right now, I think we're doing the best we can with staying positive and trying to put back energy into our streets, positivity. It's kind of make everybody feel like, they belong here and they belong to something. So, like I said, we're making it. I'm glad that you have me on the show today. Thank you so much for having us here. It's been a pleasure.
So, Travis is the owner of the Funnel Bar, which is located in Houston, Texas. And with this, he and his team provide a one-of-a-kind gourmet funnel cake experience. Can you tell us how this all came about for you, Travis?
I can really tell you how I got started, right? So, of course, a lot of people who know me know that I love sweets. I love dessert. I can't think of any dessert that I don't like. And me being that, I guess people would call it dessert connoisseur, right? I thought about it and I said, well, hey, I have all this leadership and all this training based off my background in finance and retail and all this other good things. What can I do for myself? And how can I embark on a new journey by putting my twist on something that I love to do? And that was desserts for me.
So this was an easy pick for you.
It took me a while, though. I'm not going to lie, to start this whole transition of actually putting it forth. But I think I had that idea long time ago in 2013, where I was like, you know what do people want, but they just can't have, right? So I started thinking, I was like, well, hey, do I want a bakery? I was like, nah, everybody has a bakery. And I said, well, you know what else do I want to do? Do I want to own like a donut shop? What is that? Let's get excited about that. And I was like, nah, maybe not. And me being from Dallas, Texas, I think one of the things that people pride themselves about going to every year is the State Fair of Texas.
Yeah.
And there you go. And I thought about funnel cakes. I was like, well, man, people want this item, this commodity, but they can't have it year round. So I was like, man, I'm going to do funnel cakes and I'm going to put my own spin on them. It's going to have creative names. It's going to make people have that nostalgic feeling of like being back in the day. Mom take you to the fair. You got your tickets. You got your turkey leg. You got your funnel cake, your deep fried ice cream or whatever. And I want to be able to invoke those feelings amongst people.
You say you had the spark in 2013. Here we are in 2020 and you're booming, but just getting started. So when did you actually start that full transition process?
So in 2017, a long time in between, I decided to go ahead and start my vision. My first event was 2017, June. I was nervous, scared. But, I think my philosophy is that sometimes you just got to do it anyway, kind of like you said.
Yep.
And our motto is life is short, eat dessert first. So, of course, I know in the world of health and in the world of people living longer and things like that, you always have to take time for yourself and just do things and be happy. And I'm doing that through food.
You're happy doing it and you're able to provide that level of happiness to others. It's awesome.
And I will say this to interject, Don, is that you, like you said, you have to do what makes you happy. Don't let anybody, family, friends tell you otherwise, because it could get rough sometimes. People told me, hey, you're not going to make any money selling funnel cakes. What is that? Like, where are you going to sell them at? Nobody's going to want that. So you're going to get that along your path and your journey. But I think you have to remain steadfast in your approach. And it's like, hey, I wanted to do it because I enjoy making people happy, making people smile. And no matter what anybody else told me, right, I wanted to do it to prove a point, not only to them, but to myself, that I could actually make this happen and make money off of something that I love to do.
So how in the midst of you making a career transition and having all these influences, did you finally just do it anyway? Like, what was your ultimate trigger?
I think for me, that's a really great question. I think for me, just wanting to be my own business owner. Like, I've worked for so many companies, so many Fortune 500 companies, and I'm like, I've ran so many reports for JP Morgan Chase and all these other great institutions, right? And I'm like, how can I apply myself and do that very same thing with my own business? I'm making these other people money and driving their bottom line and creating good numbers for them, but I want to do that same thing for myself in the dessert world. And I think along the way, within those years, I think you kind of, I'm not gonna lie, you kind of go against yourself sometimes. You kind of like wonder and kind of like, okay, am I really gonna do this? Am I strong enough to do this? Am I mentally ready to do this? But I think with that being said, you got to have the right people around you. Positivity is key. And you even got to have those friends that's going to criticize what you have, just to kind of, and you feed ideas off of them, because it's going to happen in the real world. So I think if you have a close knit or a close circle of friends that will give you the real, what we like to call it, I think it's helpful. And I think, I just got tired of going into work, working for somebody else, 9 to 5. Oh, I can't take vacation because I gotta make sure somebody else is not taking that same vacation. And I think it just got to a point where I was like, you know what? Why not put that same level of energy into myself? If I could go do it for the bank 70 hours a week, why not do that for myself? I think that was my turning point where I was just like, I'm making X amount of dollars for what? It's not making me happy. And I think happiness and a stress-less life is key.
Like you said, happiness is a key component when you're on the road to bank, right? And having those positive partners as well as constructive criticizers is essential. I mean, how important is it to keep personal and professional separate? Like, friends and family usually tend to include themselves in business matters on a lot of different levels. So let's talk about it. How do we create a balance?
I think you pose a great question, right? Like, how do we get the people around us to be involved but not involved? And I think it starts with you having to understand the people you are around. Like, hey, how involved do I want to let my family or my friends get involved in my business? You have to sit and be honest with yourself. If you know your wife may say, I don't like that, scratch that. Or if you know there's going to be a constant like tuggle of ideas, then I think you have to make that decision as a business owner, right, to involve the right people. I think it starts with that. I think I've been grateful enough to have people in my inner circle, my wife, my mother, my father, my sister, all my close-knit circle of friends that understand that, hey, when Travis needs help, he'll reach out. Or when I give Travis ideas, it's up to him to, put those ideas into play, or just let me know what he thinks about them. I think a lot of times sometimes people who they see the end goal, but they just want to be there at the end. They don't want to help you out along the way. And you have to, as a business owner, you have to decide whether or not you want those types of people around you. I mean, honestly, because it can rub off on your brand. And we all know branding is everything. But I think that having the right people, and sometimes you're going to have to step up and say, hey, unfortunately, this is not working. I'm going to ask you that you, step off, or, hey, if I need anything, I'll reach out.
Correct. Based on their timeline and based on their ideas, when they don't have any substantial backing to show their methods may even be profitable. Also, not focusing on the fact that it's your vision and you're actually the person to be accountable for not only the success, but the failures of any ideas that you may put into play, whether they're yours or not.
I have people like that now. It's like, they always got ideas, right? So, hey, I don't want to, unfortunately at this time, I don't want to use your ideas. It was great though, right? You just have to make that decision and trust your gut. People are going to tell you everything. People tell me now, hey, Travis, I think you need to franchise. Hey, Travis, I think you need multiple trucks. Hey, Travis, people always like to tell you what they want to see you at based on their time.
Right. I appreciate the ideas and insight. I'll take them into consideration as the business continues to grow.
But what you see often though, Don, is people who have never been any kind of, they never own anything. They never worked in a service industry, in a food industry. They're the worst ones that are like, hey, I think you should do this. Nah. It's like me going to the doctor and me telling the doctor how to do his job.
What about having a mentor of some sort?
I think for me, it's always good to have a mentor, right? I mean, I didn't have one per se, but I think for the young person listening to this, hey, maybe I can find somebody that I can shadow or partner. Me personally, I have people that I can call and contact, reach out to when I have questions about a certain skill or about a certain idea or something like that. But I didn't have pinpointed one person to it. I like to keep it that way because I actually, when I first started, I communicated with people from different states, Florida, New York, California. Just like, hey, I want to be a part of this funnel cake community, and this is what my ideas are. How are things going where you are? Just to kind of build that sense of community amongst what you're doing. So I like I said, I didn't have a mentor per se, but I was able to contact people who look like me, right? That's a big thing.
Right.
Give me like, hey, Travis, I don't know if you should do that way, but here's what we do here in California or whatever the case may be. And I think that kind of motivated me to just full throttle with it because I'm like, man, you got people all over the country that are willing to help me out, whether it be me sending a DM, right, not knowing if somebody's going to respond back or shooting the email. Like, man, these people they're not going to be bothered with me. I'm just a small fry in the big pond. But, when you have people reach out to you and it's like, oh, wow. So I think for me moving forward, I got to keep that going. So when people give me advice or give me ideas or help me with my business model, whatever the case may be, right, you got to pay it forward to people. I think that's what it's all about, especially now.
Are there any situations that you've been in that really shook your progress?
A lot of people don't know that I was potentially being sued for my logo.
Wow.
So that's a tough one, right? And I tell everybody this story to say, and I'm still cool with my graphic, designer, our creative director. He's a part of the team now. But I think it was a learning experience for both of us because there was a logo out there in the space of what we call Google. We took it as our first logo. It was a funnel. It was at the funnel bar, had the funnel cake on it and everything. Thanksgiving of 2018, right? I received a cease and desist letter.
Whew, whew. We know about those.
Yeah. So at first I thought it was a joke. I mean, I'm just like, what is this? I had my name on it, the funnel bar. Like it says in the state of blah blah blah, you should not be, or you have to remove. And that really opened my eyes. I'm like, man, I like a logo. But I think what saddened me and what upset me about it was somebody that looked like me in the spirit of bringing everybody together, right? I actually had a conversation with this person and we talked about it and everything was okay. Well, I asked that he give me some time to remove everything from my social media platforms. Teach or not, the next day, boom, Facebook blocked me. They blocked my personal page. Instagram blocked me for having anything with that pertaining to that logo on my page. So I had to do some erasing, okay, let me pull this picture off. Let me pull this off. And then I kind of, learned a big lesson, right? Hey, make sure you follow up. I mean, you may think somebody knows what they're doing. And like I said, me and this person is still friends. He's my creative director. But always follow up. And I think that's the risk we take with allowing people to do your logos or to give you advice or to be on your team. And I think the person I talked to, he received it well. I was nervous about the whole thing, but I think we moved forward. Absolutely. But I think that's one of the risks that business owners take when you're creating that first initial thought, like, hey, what will my logo be? What will my brand be?
And that ties back to involving people from your personal life and your professional projects. It's an absolute high risk when we involve the two in the spirit of bringing people together as well, because although you try to support those around you by using their expertise, everything still ultimately reflects you as the business owner.
You said it right. I mean, like I said, I took a risk I don't know to this day, like, if somebody's going to say, hey, I got sick off your product. That's the one thing I don't want to hear. Being a person in the restaurant industry, being in food, you're like, I need to do what I need to do to make sure I have a clean work environment every day. My customers are happy about what they receive and no one gets sick.
Yeah, especially nowadays with everything going on, it's even more. I mean, you went from being able to have these mass gatherings where you were having huge amounts of people come and show out for your events and your pop-up shops.
Right.
So now, you have to pre-order and drive through. Don't even get out. Like, we going to give it to you and you keep driving. Like,
right.
Stuff like that. So.
Right. You said it on the head. Like, we had events where in a span of 4 hours, we would bring out 200 people. And I know to the major corporations, that's not a lot, but if you think about what we're doing, we're selling funnel cake. Lines are long. So I think, of course, our sales have decreased some, but I think with the world starting to come back to where it used to be, we're not going to be full fledged, but what it used to be, right? I think our system works for us, and people are still happy. We receive comments every day like, "Hey, we're just happy you guys are out here being safe, providing people with happiness through food. You're
Through
bringing
food,
other
through
black-owned
dessert,
businesses." Hmm?
through dessert. You're doing it through
Dessert.
dessert. You still out here making these desserts.
Look, hey, some people translate that to food. So desserts. Eventually, we are going to add food to our menu. So I guess
Okay,
that's
all right.
so.
We're gonna get
Food, but for right now, it's desserts.
yeah,
But I
but
think
still giving people that happiness in a time of pandemics and crisis. You know, still
right,
giving them that happiness. And I mean, funnel cakes. They're so classic. They're so classic. You can't beat it.
something about it. It's nostalgic, man. Like you, I bet if you had one right now, you would think about, okay, hey, my mom used to take me to the fair, and I used to ride
Mm-hmm.
this ride, but I always had to leave. Before leaving, I always had to get my funnel cake. So
Right, I get it. So let's switch gears a bit and talk about how we get excellence in Black business, especially for those individuals really trying to build their brand or and they're in the early stages. Communication is really big for me, right? Like I have a career in education, ironically enough, in the English language arts reading content. And one of the things I'm huge on is correct grammatical written communication. It's a show of professionalism and thoroughness, in my opinion. So when I reach out, especially as a new client to a business, I'm very guilty of judging almost my entire experience on written response and communication, right? It's almost like if you can't even take the time to formulate a proper formatted email, why and how could I trust you for this high dollar you're trying to charge me?
I think if you have a relationship with this person, first off, it needs to be said, uh, especially during these times like right now. I don't know if you've seen several posts that are going around like, hey, support Black businesses. We've been posted and shared on about 10 pages so far, just within the last 2 days. But like you said, it has to match the brand, it has to match the quality. But I think if you have a relationship with that person, you should be able to pull them aside, let them know, hey, I think that this is too much based off of X, Y, and Z.
Sometimes you don't have that relationship, and it can be intimidating on both sides to address issues. Conflict resolution in the Black community, something we'll talk about in later episodes, you know? Sometimes you had to dig around to find a Black provider, and then it can be such a letdown.
Sometimes I hate the conversation about, well, that's why I don't support Black owned businesses. And I think we have
Mm-hmm.
to remove that from our vocabulary. So check it. We just got it recently. Lady came to our pre-order setup, correct? Raining, storming. She didn't understand why we weren't putting ourselves in harm's way to come out and deliver the cake. The comment that we got back was, well, that's why I don't mess with Black owned businesses. That
Mm.
right there, it has to stop. So the same way when Chipotle or Chick-fil-A or Starbucks messes up your order, you give them a second chance. You have to give us that right to fix it, right?
Yep.
I for one am I'm trying to change that cycle. I'm trying to support more Black-owned businesses and knowing that people are going to make mistakes. People are going to be late. They may have grammatical errors in their email, right? But what are we going to do to help them with that moving forward? And if we're not,
Mm.
we have the opportunity to go to somebody else who looks like us, right? So we're all
Right.
about this. Hey, I want to support Black owned, shop Black. I've seen several hashtags lately, but are we really doing that, or are you waiting for
Mm-hmm.
the first moment that somebody messes up for you to say, "Well, see, that's why I don't like." Like we got to cut
Mm-hmm.
that out. We're never
Mm-hmm.
going to get
Mm-hmm.
anywhere when it comes to uplifting each other if we continue to keep that same mindset. I'm sorry if they kind
Absolutely.
of got it like a little riled up, but like I said, I just experienced that. And for us dealing with this time right now, with
Absolutely.
everything that's going on, for somebody who looks like me to say that, it hurt. It was disheartening. Like I didn't know like what to do. We solved the solution. We gave her a solution. We solved the problem. There was no going back for this person, right? And I think for us, we gotta do better. We have to take it upon ourselves to help each other when it comes to
Absolutely.
Yes, helping each other and making sure to do it from a place of love and productivity. You know, we can do that by making sure our delivery is much better. Hence, for me, Concrete and Blossom Podcast. No one ever changed anything without feedback of some sort, though. And it's really important for not only the businesses to be willing to receive the feedback openly, but God dog it, consumers and customers need to be sure it's actually helpful feedback.
I think it's up to the customer to, help us kind of challenge ourselves to either change our processes or make sure we're doing what we can professionally so that when the next person comes along, we can fix those mistakes if we do. But I think it's all about how you say it to the person.
I mean, bring your problems, but give us room to create a solution and the opportunity to actually act on that solution.
Right. And I think that's what a lot of entrepreneurs starting out don't realize. Like, we've seen businesses crumble. Like, you have to remove the personal from it and say, you know what, if I was in her shoes, how would I feel? And then you respond to that. So I think that
Absolutely.
that would definitely help out the younger generation if they want to really start it and just know that it's going to be challenging. There's some days when I'm just like, I love to go into work, but I'm like, okay, what's going to be new today? And how am I going to fix that today? So
You've got to give business owners the room and time to be problem solvers.
definitely.
What's a big money tip?
So you never want to spend more than what you have. Okay. I
Okay.
think even growing up, we had that. I wanted things, and I was like, I got my first credit card, and I was like, ooh, let me go buy the new PlayStation. But at the end of the day, that's going to affect you in the long run. To when you're buying your home, when you're buying cars, when you're buying, property, when you're starting your business, it's going to affect you. So I think having your individual self first taken care of is key because a lot of banks won't lend to you new businesses. Let's be honest. Um, I'm in one of the most
Especially
riskiest.
black owned businesses.
I'm in one of the most riskiest industries ever. It's the restaurant industry. We all know that those things come and go. So no bank is really going to look at you and say, let me give Travis $30,000 or $50,000 just to get him started. It's not that easy. And I want people to understand that if they don't have their ducks in a row, it's going to take you some time. So, like for me, I was lucky enough to reach out to some investors, and they saw my vision. I created a plan. I had them come out to see the vision, right? And they were like, "Hey, I think this is going to go far." I think if you have people around you that see your vision, you can just ask them. So, like me, I didn't go to a bank. I tried it. It didn't happen. I got denied several times, and I worked for the institution. So I think sometimes, like we said earlier on in the podcast, it's like I wanted to do this for myself, so nothing was stopping me. I was like a freight train, like I'm coming through, whether you like it or not. I try to keep my personal and my business separate, and I think a lot of people just see it. Oh, okay, hey, I have a new line of credit. Let me just use it up. At first, I had the mindset like I don't want to go to a bank. I'd rather get money from people who look like me and pay them back. That was my deal though. And now they were kind enough to see the vision in me and give me the money. Now I'm paying them back at a certain rate. And I would rather do that than give my money to any uh, firm or institution that wouldn't want to give me money in the first place.
That's some really powerful moves to make to keep in the black community. We live in a world of Google, podcasts, social media, all places which can tell you so much, but yet so many are still uneducated when it comes to these topics.
But like you said, the resources are there. I mean, the person has to want to do it themselves. Um, you can't force me to run my business. You got to want to do it for yourself. And like you said, the people of the future, they have everything at their fingertips. So there's no excuse or reason why you shouldn't hunt for that information. Everything wasn't given to me. I took those years in between to learn, to network, to have money, to make sure my recipes and everything were correct, to reach out and talk to people and ask them, like, I've never done this before. How does this work? What does business look like for you here in this market? It's going to have to be the individual to want to do it. You can't make somebody do something. We just have to get better amongst ourselves as a people to educate. I think a lot of times, for example, if somebody else got a funnel cake business, they don't want to see me do better because they're afraid that I might do better than them. Like, we got to stop that.
I hate it. Constant unhealthy competition. That's why I think it's important to talk about it. Y'all understand, just because I want to win doesn't mean that I want to see you lose or that you have to lose. You know, if you're as focused on creating your vision as meticulously as you should be, you will service a following specific to you and no one will be able to touch it.
Right. It's not a competition. Like you could be literally in Houston on your side of town making all the money that you want. And I can be on mine. And I'm okay with that. I don't see you as a threat because at the end of the day, you are my brother, you are my sister. That's one. And then two, your brand is totally different than mine. So people may not like something about my funnel cake or my dessert that I put out, and that's okay. And I think as an entrepreneur, you have to also understand that not everybody's going to like it. But the people that do, trust me, I got people right now that like, Travis, hey, I'm coming back tomorrow and Sunday. And I'm like, well, great. Like, thank you so much. And I think a lot of times we also have to tell people thank you. I know it's 2 words, but it goes a long way. When people share your post, hey, I try to make it a point to go through that DM and say, hey, thanks for sharing. You're awesome. Have a good day. Thank you so much. Like, people see that and that makes people feel like they're a part of the business, right? Hey, I was able to post my brother. He didn't have to send me a DM, right? He got X amount of things that he could be doing, but he sent me a DM and just said thank you. So that lets me know as a customer, I see you. You know, I see your company and I want to support you.
It all ties together. Let's plant some personal and professional seeds before we go.
I will start with the personal aspect of it. I think never let people stunt the growth of your dreams. You're going to always have people that tell you that's not going to work. Travis, what are you doing that for? Why are you going to college? What you doing? Why are you doing that? Why are you starting a funnel cake business? You're not going to make no money. You got to go start a restaurant with food. Why are you just doing desserts? Like, you gotta get all that negativity out of your space. And if you really want to do something, you have to remain steadfast. I can't say that enough. Like, just like you in the podcast, like, this is what you set out to do. You got everything in place. You made sure it was perfect before you got here, and you're executing it. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people don't know that's my line name. I'm a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and as you know, people would tell me I always put out a plan and I made sure it was done. Like, I executed on everything. So I think for us, we gotta remain steadfast in your approach to yourself, to your health, to your mental health, to your, education, to all these things, right? And then on a professional level, business level, I think that don't be afraid to ask for help. Like, seriously, don't be afraid. Like, you're never too big to ask somebody, like, hey, I don't really know how to do this. My whipped cream look a little flicked and I need some help on how to, like, put it on my funnel cake, So I think those are the 2 things that I would say definitely. Keep it moving. Ask for help. Take care of yourself. Last thought, right? Just make sure you do it, man. Just don't talk about it, be about it.
So listen, listeners, that is episode 2 of Concrete and Blossom Podcast, and Mr. Travis Smith of The Funnel Bar has planted the seed, Bros with Bank. So much valuable information. Black men, this is your call to subscribe and review. Also, let us hear from you about your Black-owned business and support us on our social media, Instagram at Concrete and Blossom. Thanks so much for listening. Don the Daw delivers.